Welcome back to the Super Data Science Podcast, everybody. Super pumped to have you back here on the show. And today we've got a special guest, Josh Hortaleza, calling in from Toronto. Josh, how's the weather in Toronto today?
It is pretty bleak. It's generally very it's overcast right now, so I'm very happy to appear on this podcast to distract me from this inclement weather. So very happy about that.
Do you get that crazy heat that's going through the world right now since it's summer in Toronto?
Oh yeah, like Toronto is so variable when it comes to its weather. Like in the winters it'll be like negative 30 Celsius, and in the summers it'll be like positive 30 Celsius. So it's quite a drag to kind of deal with it. But like luckily I work in technology, so I'm inside most of the day. So I'm very happy about that.
Gotcha. How long have you been in Toronto for?
My whole life. I was born and raised in Toronto, and I
Mhm.
haven't really left.
Mhm.
So I hope to do that soon. But you know,
Yeah.
with the pandemic, it's not like those dreams can come to fruition anytime soon. But that's okay.
Gotcha.
hmm
And your background is from the Philippines, and you're planning on going back checking it out. Is that right?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Canada, but like I feel an obligation to kind of see where my parents have come from. It's been
Yeah.
like the culture of the Philippines, even though I don't culturally identify with it, is something
Yeah.
that was a big formative experience for my parents having been born there. So I think I owe it to my parents to visit where they grew up.
Gotcha. I think from what I've heard and seen, Canada is quite a diverse, inclusive culture, similar to Australia, where you have people from all sorts of backgrounds living, coexisting, and thriving together. Is that your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Toronto is a very multicultural city. It's a very big economy as well, and it's very nice to see this like cultural mosaic of people who live in the city. And a big advantage of that is the food that you get to eat in Toronto. It is
What's your
incredibly.
favorite soup? What's your favorite food?
My favorite non-Filipino and non-Canadian food is probably like chicken tikka masala or something.
Oh
Like
wow.
yeah. I love Indian food. It's really good. Like granted, like it'll never be good as wherever like that comes from, like India probably. But
Yeah.
it's good enough for someone from the outside looking in. So I'm very happy about that. But yeah, it's a very diverse city, very multicultural, and it's very receptive to people who kind of venture into that area. So I'm very happy to call Toronto my home in that sense.
That's awesome, man. We were talking speaking with my girlfriend literally yesterday about um national foods, and she's from the UK, and we were like debating who's which national foods come from where, and she was listing things from the UK like fish and chips, shepherd's pie, um roast, yeah, I think so, roast meal, and then she's like curry. I'm like, curry is not from the UK, but it's so popular here that you might as well think that it's from here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like from the outside looking in, like that's. I was surprised to see that like butter chicken was so popular in the UK.
Mm.
I guess that's a testament to like your population. I guess your ever growing population, right? So as the world gets more diverse, then like our cultures get intermingled, and that's very nice. That's very
Absolutely,
cool.
absolutely. And what's a national dish of Canada?
It is poutine.
Poutine.
Poutine is like if you know what if you were to like look at poutine and like take all of its constituent parts and just look at them individually, you would say, "What is this? What is abominable? Like what is this in front of me right here? Like gravy, cheese curds, maybe like if you're super Canadian, you'll add like maple syrup to it. I don't,
Oh god.
but you can like add these things to it. But like its parts are maple syrup. And no, it's gravy, cheese curds, and fries. And if you look at those, like what is this? But like if you look at it together and you eat it, then it's phenomenal. I love poutine. I am obsessed with poutine. It's so good. I love
It's delicious. Delicious,
it is
absolutely.
phenomenal. It is amazing.
It's like, especially like if you after a night out, after some drinks, and like at a club or music or a bar, and you're walking back, and like every, I guess there's all these foods that uh are bad for you, but like full of fat and stuff like that. But if you have this dish, oh, it's just so satisfying.
You know what? Like I'll satisfy like a day of cravings to feed my poutine addiction. You know, like it's definitely something that I will risk taking to damage my diet in order to partake in. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly as you described it. It's a good comfort food. It's good after a night out, and you can't go wrong.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Josh, great to have you here. We met in the most random of, like, in the literal sense, random way. Just maybe I can describe the experience, but I'd love to hear it from you. Tell, like, if you can recap, how did that happen?
So it all starts with my buddy talking to me about, hey, there's this online type of conference called Data Science Go, and you're into data science, so you should come along with me. And I was like, yeah, sure, and I did. And the conference was like fantastic, and we met through the booths, not the booth, the networking sessions.
This is the
that
virtual, right? Data Science Go virtual.
That's right. Sorry, Data Science Go virtual. That's right. And there were these 3-minute breakout sessions where the whatever provider did the service that you hosted it on would match you with someone, and lo and behold, I was matched with you, and and that was after I was like religiously going on this thing and trying to meet as many people as possible. And one of the people who I met was you, and we talked for the 3 minutes of time that we were allowed to talk for about, and you asked more about my experience as opposed to me asking about your experience. So happy to come on the podcast to to get a bit of learn a bit about you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, man. It was a random thing, and so for those who weren't at Data Science Go Virtual, it's like a lightning round of networking, because virtual conferences usually lack that aspect. At Data Science Go Virtual, we wanted to make sure we have that, and so it's a lightning round where you click this button, meet the next person, and for 3 minutes you have like a video chat with a random person from the audience, and then boom, time up, you meet the next person. That goes on for like 30 minutes, several times throughout the event. So tell us, who else did you meet in these lightning rounds?
I met some very cool people. I met people from like the UCLA Anderson School of Business. I met people from I met someone who worked, I think, at NASA or something. That was really cool. Yeah.
Oh, I think I met her as well.
Yeah. That was nuts. And she's not there anymore, but like she was working somewhere else now. But that was pretty cool. I met someone who worked like National Grid. And yeah, I met multiple people, and I actually met with them after the actual conference. Like I actually had hours long conversations with all people who agreed to meet with me after.
Go, Josh! That is epic. Speaking of like dedication and follow through, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and because the conference was international, I got to get a lot of perspectives from the American space and perspectives from places really outside of my scope, which is the Canadian scope or the Ontario scope. So very fortunate to that people were able to like lend me their ear and talk to them about their passions, I guess, right? So I was very happy and benefited very much from doing the lightning rounds.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Hope you're enjoying this amazing episode. We're going to break for a quick announcement and I'll be straight back to it. This episode is brought to you by our very own virtual data science conference called Data Science Go. If you haven't been to Data Science Go yet, if you haven't heard of Data Science Go, check it out at datasciencego.com/virtual. There you'll see a recap of the incredible event we had in June this year. We're hosting Data Science Go virtual number 2 in October. Make sure to be there. We're going to have amazing speakers, amazing energy, and we're going to have virtual networking. 3-minute sessions to connect with your peers, with mentors, with hiring managers, with mentees, with whoever is at the conference. Random lightning networking, 3 minutes each. You can stay in touch with these people, expand your data science network. Be there. It's in October. It's absolutely free. The best part, it's absolutely free. Just go to datasciencego.com/virtual. Register for the event today. All right, let's get back to the podcast. Well, absolutely cool. So we met and now we're here. And the reason why I invited you is when we were talking, just for those 3 minutes, I could feel like so much, I don't know, like that you're super smart and you're determined to go where you're going and you're very curious, right? So like putting all those three things together, I thought I gotta talk to you. And yeah, we've got quite a few things to cover. So before we get started, give us a bit of background. Who are you, and what is your life stage right now?
Awesome. So my name is Josh Hortaleza. I am 22 years old. I'm from Toronto, Ontario. I am a third year student, in middle of third year student at studying computer science at a school called Wilfrid Laurier University. Go Golden Hawks. I I kind of stumbled as to like data science. I kind of stumbled across data science. I describe it as I tripped over it one day and I discovered it. And before that, I actually wanted to get into equity research. So that's like, hedge funds and investments and like that. And I was actually quite good at delivering investing and pitching stocks. I actually won contests in that area. And I intended to go into the equity research space. And the thing is, even though I studied computer science, I wanted to do this business thing so bad. But one day I went to kind of like a workshop hosted at the nearby university close to me. And I was kind of like introduced to this field of data science. And I was like, wow, okay, this is really, really cool. I think this is very fascinating. And before, ever venturing into this space, I only heard of data science from like, oh, like this is an area that only PhDs go into. This is where like, the Google algorithms, come into play and whatnot. So it's like, okay, maybe this thing, maybe I couldn't do this. So I went to this workshop. I did the project, and then suddenly I got a job as a data scientist intern at a company called CIBC, and that's that's a bank in Canada.
What do you mean suddenly? How do you suddenly get a job? Do you like wake up and you have a job?
Yeah, no, it was like wow, here it is. But no, I was definitely like having a hard time looking for a job back when I didn't have a lot of experience. And when you're a student, you kind of have to like get the ball rolling in some place. And this is especially hard when you are trying to pursue two areas at once. So like once I discovered the data science as a whole in around February of 2019, and then I got my first job in data science on May 2019. So it was very
fast.
It was very fast. Well, first of all, I widened my net. I was willing to work anywhere, right? So I would work in Toronto. I would work in the areas around Toronto. I would work across the province, and I ended up working in a place called Waterloo, which is where my school is. So that was fine. And I decided to like expand broaden out my options as much as possible. So I applied to data science jobs in any context. So that's in like insurance, that's in capital markets, that's in e-commerce, that's in healthcare data science. So I really expanded my options, and I was by pure virtue of numbers, I just was bound to get one. I guess I'm not bound to get one because it doesn't like come with that, but I consider myself very fortunate and lucky. But to get the job that I have, but like ever since then, it just like kept rolling. I found this job through applying on a niche job board. So like that's kind of how you get the ball rolling in that space. Like, yeah,
what's a niche job board?
It's exclusive to the Waterloo area. It's called Work. Yeah, it's called Work in Tech, and that's run by one of the incubators in the area. So they're like a startup incubator. So that's kind of like, it's unfortunate that not everyone can go on it, but because it's Waterloo exclusive. But yeah, that's where I found it. Very niche.
Okay, but people would have local ones in their cities, something similar.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so you got this job. I can see from LinkedIn you stayed there for 4 months. What happened next?
In terms of like what happened at the job, or where I work next?
Whatever is worth talking about.
Yeah, so I think both of them are worth talking about. At CIBC, I worked a lot on NLP tasks. So the retail banking space has a lot of data, and and it has a lot of text data. Why? Because a lot of the value add or the business driver of banking is in the retail banking space. So that's within the and particularly what I worked on was call center feedback. So what essentially that is like, okay, well, there are call centers, like people who sell cards or like provide customer support, and then they are given they're given a survey, and they're asked for their feedback, and then we take that survey data, that feedback data, and then we perform like NLP stuff on it. So in my case, it was sentiment analysis. So my end deliverable was kind of a dashboard that displayed like went through like these thousands of feedbacks and kind of put them in buckets from like bad experience, neutral experience, and good experience. And that was kind of and we used Google like dashboard for that or something. We used a dashboard service for that. And Google Cloud Platform, GCP. So once we had this deliverable, then we presented our findings to management, and we tried to help them intelligently improve their feedback from that.
Okay, tell me two questions. One is what techniques did you use for the NLP?
So to be quite honest with you, it was a very like we used a lot of like APIs. So we used Spacey and we used sklearn for scikit-learn. Yeah, so like we use these things, and then we just like invoked like the sentiment command, and we just there you go. We applied it to all the.
So plug and play, right? And it's not a surprise, man. Like you started into data science in February. Like nobody's expecting you to be a NLP wizard by May. You know, it's 3 months. So mostly like products, right? You were using to get the insights.
Exactly. But the thing is, people who work with me like had like graduate degrees, like and whatnot. So like we were all working on the same thing. So I think it was a matter of what the bank needs at the time. And a bank doesn't necessarily need the latest and greatest, model that's coming out of like academia, right? They can just like use some rudimentary thing to provide some value in that way. So that's kind of like even though I was very happy with the experience of working there, but it wasn't like rigorous to me, I guess, for like lack of a better word. But the next internship was at Intact Insurance, and that's in Toronto. And that was and the job was also called data science. I was a data science intern there. And the reason why
before we jump to that one, the second question I wanted to ask you at CIBC, what if you can share, of course, I don't want to like overstep into any confidentiality parts, but what kind of insights were you driving with these dashboards to the executives?
Let me think about it. Yeah, so essentially like the insight that we're trying to drive is okay, like this is what your customers are experiencing, and there's like a business team that would take this data and try to interpret stuff from it and interpret insight from it, and then we would work with them to do that, because like we are the translators of data, right? Like we try to bridge the gap between the technical and the business, right? So we try to help them do this. And I guess like I can't really delve in on the actual.
No, I understand. I understand.
But it was a very cross-functional process, right? So we worked with a lot of stakeholders. We worked with a lot of like with people like that, and we presented this thing. But yeah, that's kind of like how that was.
Okay, no worries. Let's move on. Second internship.
Yes. So second internship was at a place called Intact Insurance, and this was surprisingly like probably like that was a fantastic internship. I love this job. I love people who I work with.
I can feel it in your voice how excited you are.
I gush about Intact all the time. And the reason why I value it as a fantastic internship is because number one, I got to work with incredibly incredibly like, a very cutting edge like models. So to give a bit of context on that, I worked with CNNs in a image processing use case. So
convolutional neural networks, right?
Yes, that's right. Convolutional neural networks. Yeah. So I did a lot of image processing stuff. So to elaborate, in the insurance space, there are a ton of forms that you need to fill when you submit a claim. So the thing is, and how it's done in the past is it's done manually. Like you would classify all these documents manually, and then you would like send each paper or form to its appropriate division that handles that document, right? This can be automated, and this can be automated with a model, right? And the model being a CNN model, and then you can use the model to do what the manual classification like takes, and you can do it much faster. So it was a very cool internship because I used CNNs to do this image processing, and I got to like read some very interesting papers. Like
sorry. Let's recap. So just so I understand better. So somebody fills in this form, it's a form they fill in by hand, and then they send it in, and you take a scan of the form, and then you need to get information out of it. Is that right?
So it's more of like you have to identify what the form actually is, and then put it in the appropriate bucket. So an example. So I guess like the forms that exist are legal forms, police forms, subrogation forms, photos of the damaged site, stuff like that. And
and they're all like scanned in, and you just need to find the title of the form using CNNs.
Not necessarily, like, the title isn't necessarily there. So it's interesting in that respect, because the thing is, like, you can have a form that looks like a standard form you need to fill out, and then you can have a picture, right? But the picture and a form could be classified in the same bucket, right? Because they pertain to the same thing, right? So it was very interesting to kind of like delve into the actual raw data to see, okay, where is the CNN failing? What can I do to kind of like make the process like better for it? How can I improve the model in some way? So that's kind of like what I do there.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Good. And so, what did you enjoy the most about this?
So I mentioned two things. Like, so the first part was that I got to work with very important, not important, but like very like cool technology. And in doing that, I actually went to a lot of conferences. So in Toronto, Toronto is the home of Geoffrey Hinton. And
the godfather of AI.
Yes, the godfather of AI. And Intact paid for me to go to a conference that was commemorating his Turing Award. So I got
amazing.
So
you got to see him speak.
I got to see him speak, and I got to see.
No way!
Yeah,
man, that's awesome.
It was really cool, and people who were there were like Ilya Sutskever, who's the Open AI guy, the guy who does Open AI. So
I haven't heard of him, but that's also I know about Open AI.
Yeah. So he's the chief scientist at Open AI, and he was the guy who beat the Dota teams with his neural network over there. And that was amazing to meet that guy. But Geoffrey Hinton, listening to him talk and go through the history of a neural network was fantastic. Yeah. And it was really interesting to see like what a venerated figure kind of looks like in this field, right? Because this field is very young, right? This is a very young space, but he's been working on it for a long time.
Since like 1980s, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even before that, like there's even before that, like there was like the perceptron or something, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And like back at that time. So like to watch him talk about like the adoption of AI, its adoption of neural networks right now, as opposed, even though he's been doing all this work, him and Yasha Bengio and all those
Jan LeCun.
Jan LeCun, these pioneers, Aaron Curville, whatever, like all these people who work on this thing, even though they've been working for a long time, it's only now reaching like worldwide adoption. And that was like I think the revolutionary thing was called AlexNet, and it was in the ImageNet contest where they're like, wow, this thing like beats all these other things, so we'll adopt this thing. So an insight of I think an important story that he brought up was this notion of continental drift or something, and people at the time of the theory being brought about, they were like, "Hey, this isn't true. We're gonna mock you for this." And this continental drift thing, like, are you crazy? Like, how can continents move? And then eventually, but now we know that continental drift, like the moving of these large land masses, is an actual thing. But at the time of Geoffrey Hinton's like early career, the neural network didn't really get adopted, right? Like people were laughing this thing out of the conference rooms and laughing this thing out of these journals. But now it's like widespread. Like it's accepted that this works. So he's kind of like demonstrating. So like listening to him talk about the history of the neural network was fantastic. So that's that. And then I guess the second thing that I learned from Intact was how to be a good worker and how to be a value add to a company. They had 3 one-on-ones with me every single week. I learned a lot about myself as a worker and as an employee, and especially like where I fit in a company and what value add data can bring. So I was really adamant in trying to figure out, okay, how do I be a good data scientist? And what does that mean? What does it mean to be a good data scientist in a company context? And I learned that there. So
amazing. Go Intact.
Yeah,
Love
that
it.
was fantastic. I really cannot sing the praises of Intact enough. I love working there. But there's the thing about Intact was it was a 4-month thing. So lo and behold, I had to leave. But it is what it is, right? And then where I'm working now is a startup called Cognitive Systems Corporation. And this is what they do is really cool. They do Wi-Fi motion technology. So they use Wi-Fi to detect motion. And I can't really get into the work I'm doing there because it's really research.
Yeah. Trade secret.
Yeah, it is. But it is seeing how a startup kind of grows from the ground up. You realize, okay, it's a whole different ball game working at a startup as opposed to working at a big company. And and this company that I'm working at is really on their game. And I see their office, and there's tons of computers lying around, tons of work, physical wrenches and pliers and stuff, because they're trying to work. They're really trying their best to work on whatever works, right? At these big companies, they have a really formalized process, but at these startups, they're okay, if it works, it works, and then and then we'll go with that. Not to say that that's an unintelligent process. That's a very smart way to kind of go about utilizing intelligent people. So I'm having a great time working there right now. So that's kind of my career background.
Man, incredible. At 22 years old, you've had the experience of big corporations like banking, and you've had experience at startups. Dude, you're going to go places for sure. Mark my word.
I actually worked 2 internships before that, but I'm before CIBC, but I'm not going to discuss that because that's in the real realm of finance. But
okay.
I've worked almost 5 internships right now. So I love working, as you can see. I love working and I love learning, and I'll get into why I do that later if you want.
Gotcha. Your internships, interestingly, have all been 4 months, 4 months, 4 months, 4 months, 4 months, and now at Cognitive Systems Corp, you're on month number 3. So, are we going to see the same pattern? Are you going to be 4 months, or you think you're staying longer?
I'm going to stay for 4 months. I generally have a rule where I will only be at a company for 4 months as an internship, and the reason why that is because I figured the vast majority of the things that you could learn happens in the first 4 months of a company, right?
Wow.
So learning about the company culture, learning about what I want to do, learning about what they use, whatnot. And I feel to kind of broaden your horizons is the best approach you can kind of undertake when you're in the learning process, right? Because not only are you learning about what technologies what companies use data science for, but you're also learning about what you believe is good company culture and where you kind of fit into this whole economic system. So that's why I kind of jump from company to company, because I'm trying to find my niche. I'm trying to find what I really want to do, I guess.
Interesting. That is incredible. That is one of the most audacious and at the same time valuable pieces of advice I've heard in this podcast in terms of building your career or starting your career. So it's not just a coincidental thing. It's by design that you're doing these internships and you're not actually seeking a full-time job right now. You're looking for, all this experience. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I'm still in school, and I've kind of delayed school to undertake this. And I think it stems from some form of imposter syndrome, where I feel like how do I know when I know enough, right?
Yeah.
Because I only entered this field in February of 2019. That isn't a long time, right?
Yeah.
I definitely don't know everything there is to know about the field. So the question that I'm trying to understand is, when do I know that I'm good enough for the full-time part, right?
Okay, interesting.
That's another component of me jumping around, I guess.
Gotcha. Have you heard of the 37% rule?
I have not. What is that?
It's a mathematical solution to how many people you need to date, or how many people you need to not settle down with before you actually start considering whom you will get married with. And basically, I will include it in the show notes if anybody wants to check it out. It states that in order to get a statistically significant sample and like make a right choice about who you're going to settle down with, you need to take the total number of people you think you can potentially date in your life, and the first, so let's say it's 100, hypothetically, right? Then the first 37% of them, in this case 37 people, you definitely cannot settle down with, because then you gotta have a too high a chance of missing out on the right person. You know, you don't have enough. So pretty much you're doing the same thing. So you need to like calculate what's the maximum number of jobs I can have in my life, and take 37% of that and discard the first 37%.
Exactly, and it's tough to do when when the horizons are so broad. Like for example, because like I wanted to do equity analysis, and now I'm going to do data science, and like now I'm very interested in consulting, right? So like maybe at Deloitte or something or whatnot. So that's all very interesting to me, and it kind of feels like there's only so much you can do in so little time. So I kind of have to pick my next opportunities very intelligently to try to like cast as wide of a net as possible in my like intellectual journey, right? So I have to see what companies kind of fulfill multiple buckets that I want to go through next, right? So yeah, that's my process.
Here's a question for you. So not only the horizons are broad, but also the field is changing all the time. And you said like, how do I know that I don't know everything about the field right now? I need more, internships, more experiences. But the problem I see with this is that you will, yes, like by more internships, you'll get to know the field more. But, let's say your next internships are going to be like reinforcement learning, and then RPA, and then, I don't know, some are more NLP. By the time you do those internships, the field of CNN would have moved forward, and now you have to do another one in CNN. So, like, where's the end with this? Like, because the field is growing all the time.
That is a fantastic question. What I have to reconcile eventually is that I am good enough, and that's the thing. Because in the back of my head, like I know that you hire a data scientist not because they know something, but because they have the potential to know something. Because the field changes so fast, right? This is a constantly changing field. All of my jobs that have been called data science, I've done radically different things at. So the actual like field is changing. Therefore, the field wants people who can learn to adapt to that change and thrive off it. So I guess like even though I'm on this journey right now, the journey ends when I come to the conclusion that I am in fact good enough. And when that comes along, I don't know. But in order for me to like graduate, I have to understand that within myself. So I have to do a bit of soul searching, I guess. And then once I truly believe in myself, then I'll like enter full-time market, and like then we'll see. So that's when it stops, I guess.
What do you say to psychologists that would tell you right now, right here, that you are good enough, that everybody's good enough just because we're a human, regardless of our backgrounds and experiences and insecurities, we're all good enough? Why do you not stop right now?
Do you mean like intrinsically by virtue of being a human being?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you know what? Like, I see that, but like, like we live in a system where you have the beauty of choice, I guess, right? So like, I can believe I'm good enough. Like, I can definitely say that, hey, like by virtue of being a human being, I am good enough to like, if I'm framing this correctly, I am good enough to, like even with a high school diploma, right, or something. But
even without one.
Yeah, exactly. But and that's true. Like you can probably like do this job with do some jobs in data science without like a lot of significant like education within it at a university. However, like even though that could be the case, what I would say is that I do not know how other companies think, right? Because I am not a corporation. I'm a I'm a person. So I cannot leave it up. Like if the other person who's sitting across the interview table from me is also thinks that, then boom, that's awesome. Maybe I have a chance, right? But this is such a media like filled field. Like everyone is obsessed with machine learning. People think it's like amazing and whatnot, and it is. But like the mediaization of machine learning and artificial intelligence, especially as visible because it's so visible with companies like Facebook and Amazon and whatnot. it's the case that I cannot leave my employment and my future career to chance. To say that, hey, I can't assume that the person sitting across from me thinks that as well. Even though I genuinely do believe that, like, it's all about intrinsic knowledge and whatnot, and by virtue of being a human being, like, there you go, like, you can probably do it. What I would say to a psychologist is that I cannot leave my career up to chance, and I try to limit the luck factor as much as possible, because I do not know how my interviewer thinks, and therefore I have to kind of like make sure that kind of like persuade them that I'm already a finished product.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to that. Like you can be right, but something that like it doesn't mean that it's right in every context, right? So that's what I think about that.
Gotcha. Interesting. Some might say that rather than limiting the luck factor, check this out. There's a definition of luck as when opportunity meets preparation, right? Opportunities come along, but if you're not prepared, no luck. So some might actually say you're maximizing the luck factor by preparing and doing all these internships, going through all these different parts of data science, different fields in data science. So when the right opportunity comes along, you are prepared.
Okay, so I'll rephrase what I said before, but when I mean luck, I mean random chance. Right?
Random chance. Gotcha.
So I totally agree with you that, like, luck is by design, right? Like I was like I had to put myself in a position to be quote unquote lucky, right? So like because the thing is, my job right now at Cognitive, I got through an opportunity like that would be considered lucky. Like I got it through, because the thing is, I actually lost my other internship that I was supposed to do because of the Corona pandemic. I was supposed to be an equity analyst at a hedge fund, right? But that fell through because of Corona, and I had to like scramble to get a job. And in my networking, one of the people who I knew for over a year and a half, like I reached out to him, and then this is how I got the job I have now, right? So like, but the thing is, I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I didn't know what I was talking about from working at Intact and CIBC. And I would have never have met him if I didn't actively network beforehand, right? Yep. So like, I'm definitely am a big believer in putting yourself in a position to be lucky. But like, I guess before I meant like, I don't want to chalk up my career to random chance, right? So that's what I'll say. That's what I'll say about that.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So right now, before you put the podcast, you told me your dream is to break into the field of fundamental machine learning research in corporations, the likes of Facebook AI, Google Brain, DeepMind, and so on. Tell us, like, is that a dream or a goal? So difference being a dream is something you don't have a timeline on, and a goal is something that you have a timeline on.
It's a goal. I have dreams, but like they have nothing to do with my career. I don't dream about a career. But like it is a goal. I would consider it a goal. Yeah. Like there's definitely like a horizon. I would definitely describe it as a goal. Yeah.
What steps are you taking towards this goal?
Understanding what it takes to kind of get there, and understanding the different paths to get there. Right. So, and I do that through networking. And I do that through reading like what people have like experience online. I read a lot of blogs, and I try to upskill myself to try to match that profile, right? So I obtain a fundamental understanding of what the job generally looks for. I try to match up to that criteria, and then I try to kind of like once again maximize my luck by expanding the opportunities I can get through networking and applying to jobs and whatnot. So that's kind of the steps I'm taking right now to enter that space.
Gotcha. We're going to talk about networking just now. I want to make a plug for you, man, because I believe that talented, driven people who have like a vision and somewhere they're going deserve to get to where they're going. So if anybody listening to this is in the space of fundamental ML research in Facebook AI, Google Brain, Uber, DeepMind, any Twitter Cortex, whatever it is, and or you know somebody there, or you work there, you know a manager there, send them this podcast. Send them this podcast. Tell them about Josh, and let's help Josh get to his goal faster.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Man, my pleasure, my pleasure. But let's talk about networking. So you've mentioned networking a couple times. Why is this such an important component of your career development?
Awesome. So, from a personal experience, so I'll talk about my own personal experience, and then I'll talk about why it's important in the grand scheme of things. So, number one, so my personal experience in networking is I used to want to do finance, and in business school, networking is huge, right? So you learn the tricks and you learn the tips, and you get a lot of experience just talking to people, right? And you do all these things, and I networked a ton to get into the to get into the to try to break into industry, to learn about the space. But in my time in networking, my error when I was entering finance is that I kind of had a short-term approach where I kind of expected a job right away, and that comes from an ignorance of not understanding what networking is. So networking, now that I'm a bit older, I understand that networking is, is a full experience that goes across many years, right? Or it can have like building these relationships and whatnot, and building relationships that are like strong and that are like and that are real and that are not immaterial. And what I mean by immaterial is that it's not like I'm talking to you only because I want a job, right? I want to talk to you because I want to learn from you, and I want to get and maybe you can learn from me, and maybe we can share information, and maybe we can help each other, and eventually could be maybe if the opportunity ever arises, then I can get a job that way, right? So that's what I'm adopting kind of right now, and now that I'm like kind of outside of the finance space, I kind of get a bad taste in my mouth whenever I hear networking, because people who don't understand it will be like, okay, I want to use this to get a job right away, right? And when you do that, you don't see a person as a person, you see them as a means to an end, right? Which is a very inhuman thing to do. It totally lacks any sort of compassion and human emotion.
And people pick up on that, right? People have perfect BS meters, right? Or sensors, like
they do. They really do. They can smell it a mile away, especially when you're a kid coming out of university who doesn't know how to talk at all, right? Like, because like this is a whole different university, from high school is a whole different game, right? Now you're no longer dealing with your peer group. You're venturing outside of your peer group to people who are more savvy than you are, right? You think you're so smart in high school, but like when you enter university and expand your horizons, you realize that you're not as smart as you think you are. No, you're not. Like you've just left your bubble, right? So
so what's your trick? What's your solution? Like, no, I don't want to say trick or tip, but like, how do you network in a way that's genuine?
You don't think about networking at all. So you try. I mean, of course, in the back of your mind, but like when you're talking to someone, you talk to someone because you are genuinely interested in what they do and what the experiences that they have, right? You're not talking to them because you want a job again. You're talking to them because they're willing to share their human experiences and perspectives with you, and you are interested in that, right? So if you were to take a blanket approach to networking, like firing off LinkedIn's like all the time, then chances are you wouldn't really be interested. You wouldn't be interested in every single person you're talking to, only the company they're at, and they can tell if you're not interested in what they're doing. So when I try to talk to someone, I talk to people who I'm genuinely interested in talking to. Another thing is that like I try to another thing with networking is that you want to be a good listener. So the reason why you network is because you want to listen to the perspectives of someone else. However, in your feeble attempt to get a job right there and then, you will talk about all of your cool stuff and all of your cool experiences. And they may be good, like they may be very strong experiences. However, you are not there to talk about yourself. You're there to listen.
Or you will listen, but you won't hear them because all your like reticular activating system in your brain is searching for opportunities to like, oh, can that serve me? Can that help me get a job or whatever else? So you're focusing on the wrong things in the words that they're saying, and that's not going to lead to anything.
Exactly. So like when they're talking to you, you're thinking about the next thing to say as opposed to thinking about what they're saying. However, that's counterintuitive because if you listen to what they say, you become an active listener, right? And
Absolutely.
then you get to have a more engaging conversation by having by bouncing off of what they've said to you, and then you become more genuine in a way. What I try to do now as a networker, as someone who's networking, is dismantle the notion that I am a parasite, right?
Yeah.
That is the what I'm trying, because immediately when you're networking, you have your guard. Like if some kid asks to talk to you, you're probably gonna have your guard up and be like, what does this kid want, right?
Yeah.
Or oh, I know exactly what this kid wants, and I'm just gonna play with him for a bit just to see what he's about, right?
Tell me, how do you do that? How do you dismantle that notion that you're a parasite?
Yeah. So I would do that is by being a genuine person, because you can still be, technically speaking, not to be cynical or anything, but you could still absolutely be a parasite if you're and be genuine, right? Like you can be a genuine parasite, right? so there's that. But I try to be as genuine as possible because I'm genuinely interested in their story.
But tell me, so let's say you said you met some people that did Decides to Go Virtual, you only spoke to them for 3 minutes, you exchanged contact details. What's the next step? Like how like indeed everybody is interesting. That's the foundation that is important to understand. Everybody inside is interesting, they have something cool to share. Right? So, but how do you approach them afterwards to actually learn what they have to share? What do you say to them?
I say to them, hey, I really liked your conversation at Data Science Go Virtual, even though it was 3 minutes long and that's regrettable. I want to continue that conversation more because I'm very interested in what you're about, right? That's how it is. Like continuing the conversation. That's what you want to do. You want to continue the conversation. So people who I talk to from Data Science Go were willing to continue that conversation with me, and we just talk about like things that interest us, and that's how these genuine like interactions happen. I kind of like whenever I talk about this, I kind of think about, okay, how did you meet your friends, right? When you think about that, you don't really, or like how do you make friends, right? And when I ask this, people think about, hey, like how did I meet my friends? Did I deliberately try to go out of my way? Did I have like some sort of robotic approach? Like, okay, step 1, talk to them. Step 2, do this, right? And they said, no. They just happen to be your friend, right? They just happen to met them in some artificial environment space, like school or work or university or not. And then by virtue of talking to each other and sharing similar interests, then there you go, your friends now, right? And that's how it is in networking. But you just go in with like the maybe approach that you could get something out of this, but you have to go in like a genuine person, right? So that's so on a applied basis, or to say something that's more applied, I would say, okay, well, once you met them for the first time with some like medium in which to do that, which one of them would be Data Science Virtual, then you would ask to continue the conversation later. And when you're doing that, and when you're actually doing that, you want to try to be like, yes, be genuine. But if you're genuinely like not amazing at social mores, like your goal is to be likable, right? Like your goal is not to impress. Your goal is to be likable. Your goal is to be a human being. Your goal is to be someone who they can sit on, like they can like wait on an airplane, like let's say like you're in an airplane terminal, and the airplane is coming in like 5 hours, right? Your goal is to be able to talk, to be able for them to say, hey, I can talk to this guy for like 5 hours at this airplane terminal waiting for an airplane, right? That's what you want to try to do.
Gotcha. Have you read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie?
I have the book. I have not read it yet. It's regrettable.
Man, they gotta read it. And like I recommend to everybody, like the things you're saying right now, it's a matter of like experience and knowing how to talk. For some people it comes naturally. For me, for instance, I'm not naturally, like I'm more robotic naturally. I'm more introverted and so on. And so this book really outlines how to be an active listener, how to listen to people, how to respect people, how to how to be curious in a genuine way about what people have to say. Fantastic book. Recommend for everybody to check it out. Like, ties in very well with the things you're talking about in podcast. And even reading like the first 3 chapters, you're already gonna get so much value. You're gonna like, it'll be like night and day in terms of your ability to do exactly what you're saying.
And so that's my personal experience. And I guess the second reason why I would consider that important, and I agree with the book. The book is a fantastic book, and I have to read it. Like, I'll read it soon for sure. But I guess the second reason why networking is important is because you never know what's going to happen, right? Like, you never know, right? We have this corona pandemic happen. Boom, there you go. Like, it came out of nowhere, right? Like, if you're an average person, coronavirus came out of nowhere, and suddenly you're stuck in your house for like 18 hours a day, right? So it's networking like would help. Like, if you lose your job or something, like now you have a way to kind of occupy your time, or like different channels in which you could get a job again, right? Because you never know, right? I've had someone describe networking to me as like planting seeds to and growing a relationship, I guess, and eventually picking the fruit later, right? So it's important for your professional career. Number one, because you never know what's going to happen in your career. Like, something totally happened could arise that results in you losing your job, and someone could like help you like later. And number two, because it's important to know what other people in your space are doing and are like learning right now. Because you have to like, especially in the field of data science, you have to be constantly learning. So to get an understanding of what your peers are doing in the space is fantastic. It's phenomenal. So that's kind of why networking is important.
Absolutely. And you never know, like, maybe you will help someone, you know, you're networking with someone and so on, and then they lose their job and you know somebody at your university or somewhere else, and you can connect people. There's also this element of giving back, you know, like if you go into it with, hey, even though I might not have all the experience in the world, I might not be able to get people, I don't have a company to hire people into right now, I still, you know, might be able to help people this way. And once you have this attitude, like, what do you bring to the table? How can you help people? And that potential for it is there. I think it also adds to the element that you're not just doing it only for selfish reasons.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, Josh. It's been a blast. Like, I can't believe it's already been 50 minutes that we've been chatting. So many more things I wanted to talk about, but it's been amazing. I think we gotta start wrapping up. We should have like a follow-up episode, maybe sometime like in a year or two when you've done another 20 internship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, like, among all the things we've talked about, maybe there's something burning that, like a burning piece of advice that you want to share with people that we just didn't have time to cover. There's plenty of other stuff I wanted to ask you about, but nevertheless, what's the one extra thing you'd like to share with people out there who are in a similar position to you, who are breaking into this field of data science, who have a dream, who have a vision, and you know, are excited about the field? What would you say to them?
Got it. You have to be gritty. You have to be gritty. Like the job market is a tough beast. It's very frustrating. And from a student's perspective, like I only speak from the perspective of myself and as a student as well. You have to understand that if you don't get a job right away, it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. You move on and you keep trying. You keep trying. You have to keep trying. It's something that that I really resonate with, because I was unable to kind of break into the equity analysis space, right? And even though I shifted gears and I pivoted to this field, I still have an understanding of this notion of grittiness, because especially when you're a young kid, you believe that you've lived a long time, right? You believe that you know things or something, but no, you really have not. You're just forming your career. You're forming your career, and you want to learn as much as possible. And you have to really understand that, okay, this is like, even though I can't get a job right now, it's not the end of the world. You have to keep going in a direction that eventually gets you a job, whether that be within the form of self-learning, whether that be in the form of like getting an education, whether that be in the form of networking, whether that be in the form of like building up your portfolio. these are these are things that you have to keep doing. And the reason why it's important to be gritty is because getting rejected is the worst feeling. It's horrible. Like we hate getting rejected. So and it could seem like when you're getting rejected from these companies that, hey, is this endeavor even worth pursuing? And what I say is you never know till you try, right? So keep trying, keep being gritty, and understand that even though you might not be in data science now, you could be in it someday, right? And of course, you have to keep evaluating what options are good and what options are bad and whatnot. But if you're truly dead set on this field, this new field of data science, I truly believe that you have to like have the wherewithal to like keep going at it. And if you were truly passionate, and not true, but if you were very passionate about the field anyway, you would have no problem continuing to expand your horizons and learn more about the field. So you would already be doing that. So keep your head up, be gritty, and understand that even though you are not working in data science now, it can definitely happen for you. So that's what I would say.
I love it, Josh. Totally love it. I feel the passion, feel the energy. I'm sure our listeners feel it too. Man, thank you so much for coming. Before you go, where are the best places to find you, connect with you, and for people to network with you?
Yeah, so my name is Josh Hortaleza on LinkedIn. Josh, and then like my last name, Hortaleza. You can reach me through LinkedIn primarily, and that's probably the best channel to reach me at. I think that's how I would recommend it.
Awesome. We'll include that in the show notes as well. And one final question: what's a book you can recommend to our listeners?
So I would recommend the book Deep Learning by Aaron Courville, Ian Goodfellow, and Joshua Bengio. The reason why I recommend this book is because this book helped me a lot at my internship at Intact. It really had me, I was really able to make me understand neural networks at a very high level, as well as go into the grittier details or the more fine details about how to improve, how to select parameters and whatnot, and how to kind of optimize different aspects of the neural network. And so from a practitioner's perspective, not to call myself a deep practitioner, but it definitely did help me out when I was kind of stuck learning what deep learning actually was. So that book was incredibly helpful to me as a data scientist for sure.
Gotcha. It's also available for free if anybody's interested, deeplearningbook.org. Or if you want to support the authors, you can buy it on Amazon. Just look for Deep Learning, Joshua Bengio. Fantastic. Thanks very much, Josh. It's been a huge pleasure to have you on the show. Really appreciate your time and good luck with your epic journey. You're going to go very cool places, man.
Thank you very much for having me. I really do appreciate this. And I hope that we can stay in contact for sure.
How amazing was that? How do you feel? I feel super pumped. We finished recording this podcast 30 minutes ago, and I still feel the energy. I feel like I need to go for a run or something like that. I have so much inspiration. So I hope you got as much value out of this. My personal favorite part was, and the most surprising part for me, was that Josh, at 22 years old, is designing his career, even his internships by design, are 4 months long. I'm sure he has had opportunities to stay longer or look for full-time jobs and things like that. But he, by design, just look at his LinkedIn, 4 months every single time. His internships by design are 4 months long. That is a true testament to a vision and a thorough follow through on that vision. Nothing is going to stop this person. He is going to get to where he's going. And it's a great example to follow, a great inspiring example. If you want to build a great career, design it and follow through on your vision, on your strategy. Amazing. Loved it. As always, you can find the show notes at superdatascience.com/389. Connect with Josh. Make sure to hit him up, network, ask him questions. I'm sure he's going to be happy to answer them. If you're in the space of fundamental machine learning research, in Canada, in the US, in the UK, wherever, in companies like Facebook AI, Google Brain, Uber, and so on. Hit Josh up. He would love to get in touch and get an opportunity to be in that space. And as you can see, he's going to add a lot of value. He's going to be the person. He's a go-getter. All right. And in addition to that, please share this episode. If you know somebody who is like super excited about data science, doesn't know how to break into the field, maybe is a bit scared, maybe is a bit like unsure that they can do it, send them this episode. Super inspiring, super energized. You might change somebody's life. Very easy to share. Send them the link, superdatascience.com/389. And one final thing, Data Science Go Virtual coming up this October, number 2. We're gonna have, like last time we had 2,500 people. This time we're aiming for 4,000 plus. So make sure to be there. It's free. Just go to datasciencego.com/virtual. Sign up, sign your friends up, sign your whole family up. Of course, you need to fill in the survey. You need to fill in an application form because we want to make sure the right people are there. So we network, so we're able to network with each other. So fill in that form, get yourself there, and meet amazing people like Josh and add them to your network. Now you have the tips, the ways to network. Read the book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Turn up, show up, and take your career to the next level. Data Science Go Virtual this October. Can't wait to see you there. And until next time, happy analyzing.